Hare Krishna and welcome to this video on the Bhagavad-gita chapter 1 verse 1. And this is part 3 of the summary of main points by the Acharyas in relation to verse 1 in the Gita. So let's see. We have Viśvanātha Cakravartī, and we have his commentary, the Sarartha Varshini Tika, where we have a couple of points. Some points are similar to other points already being made by other commentators. So Viśvanātha mentions, for example, that Dhritarashtra's question ultimately is narrated by Vaishampayana to Janamejaya. And he also stresses the point that Kurukshetra is a sacred place mentioned in the Shastras. But the most interesting point, I think, and most original one, or a unique one, is the point about applied gardening, about cultivating dharma. So he makes several points here that Kurukshetra was a place for growing the grains of dharma. So Yudhishthira was dharma personified, and Krishna encouraged him, and the Kauravas, including Duryodhana, were like weeds which are enemies of the grains, and in order for the grains to grow their best, the weeds must be killed. And this killing of the weeds was done with the help of Krishna. So one could say that Krishna here acts as a gardener. He's applying the science of gardening to cultivate the dharma. So that's Viśvanātha's main point, I think. Now to Baladeva and his commentary, the Vidyābhūṣana. And here the problem is that Baladev, he has quite a few points in his commentary for this verse, but none of the major ones, or the major points that he makes, are seemingly his own, at least if we assume that at least he has read the commentaries that we have presented in this series of videos, but maybe he didn't read those. In any case, the main ideas he presents are the following. The first one is that Vaishampayana relates this verse of the Gita to Janamejaya. And the second point is that he presents the two questions of Dhritarashtra's, namely, will my sons give the kingdom away, or will the Pandavas go to the forest? And then the third point he makes is that the word Mamakaha reveals hatred for the Pandavas, as already pointed out by Madhusudana. And the fourth point is the gardening analogy, as pointed out by Viśvanātha. So that's Baladev then. And then we come to Bhaktivedanta-swami-prabhupada, and here again, many of the points that Prabhupada mentions in his commentary are already mentioned by other commentators. So, for example, the importance of the battlefield of Kurukshetra as a place of religious sacrifice, and the unwanted plans such as Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana, like that. Those points are mentioned by Prabhupada, but we already talked about those in other places. But still, there is an important point about the Gita Mahatmya. And that is a text which is like a summary of the Gita. And Prabhupada, well, some translators translate the title Gita Mahatmya as the glorification of the Gita, but it's like a summary of the Gita. In any case, according to Prabhupada, he says the following. I'm quoting him here. So there, namely in the Gita Mahatmya, there it says that one should read Bhagavad-gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. End quote. So the implication is that the comments and commentaries of those who are not really devotees of Krishna should be ignored. And the so-called follow-up question is then, who do we determine to be a devotee of Krishna? Who is a devotee of Krishna and who is not a devotee of Krishna? So that sort of opens up for some interesting questions about how to select commentaries of the Bhagavad-gita. Okay, a second point, which is also very important, and this is also a rather unique point, is that Prabhupada says that the Gita is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So the implication or the way of thinking is presumably something like this, that since Krishna is omniscient and omnipotent, he knows everything. And Krishna wouldn't lie, at least not in the Gita. So if Krishna says something, it is the truth. And anything that is the truth, we may call science. So the conclusion then is that the Gita is scientific, and the reason for it being so is because it is directly spoken by Krishna himself. All right, so that was the last comment by Prabhupada, and we can have a look at the sources here that I used in these videos here for the dates, where I found all the dates. And here are the commentaries that I used to produce this series of videos. You can look it up for yourself if you wish. All right, I hope this has been helpful and interesting to watch, and thank you very much for watching, and Hare Krishna.